It's pretty quick these days. We're live. Go.
Okay, we are live here on season 3, episode 7, Westworld, coming to you live, Super Mainer Bros podcast in Burlington, Ontario, Canada.
Great.
I'm your host, Jeff Mater, here with my brother Dave Mater.
Yeah.
We've been recapping season 3 all for the past about what was it been about 2 months now. We've been watching this show.
Feels like a short time and a long time. It's been only 7 episodes, but it's been a journey. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Has not felt like a typical 7 episode arc normally would.
No, it's moved fast, but it's also had some moments where you kind of been kind of trying to figure out the season, and this episode definitely gave us a lot of enlightening scenes to kind of what the end game of the season is going to be next week. I was kind of confused about where it was going. Was Dolores going to be the big bad, or was she I didn't really see this coming, where basically she's making Caleb the big bad.
Well, she's lighting the match, though, isn't she? Isn't she ultimately the puppet master of this equation? And Caleb's sort of been manipulated into this situation.
Yeah, for sure. But I do think that I kind of saw it going where Dolores was going to be this insurmountable threat that would just even keep replicating, or would just be this ahead of the game every step of the way. And it seems like it's going a different way, where she understands that she can't destroy the world by herself. She needs to get a human to destroy the world for her.
Well, and it's her great sense of irony is apparently what, I guess what Bernard tells us, right?
Right.
Is that she's not going to do it herself because that would be too simple. That would be just blah to her. She's got to do it way more better than that. She's got to think more original than any human ever would.
Yeah, well, speaking of Bernard, I thought he actually had a good episode in this episode. He had a lot to do, a lot of dialogue. He just for the first time all season, I felt like he actually mattered.
Why did they pick up the Man in Black? Why do they want? Why do they need him? Why do they want him? Why?
They just keep saying he's even saying to them directly, "I will kill you, so don't keep me alive. I'm going to kill you." And
he's like, I don't like you. You're a bunch of what does he call it? He calls him a can opener, I think. Dubs a can opener. He has no love for these hosts. He does not like them. He's not on their side. He's not looking to march their cause. He says he's going to wipe them all out, including starting with these two. And they're like, well, we might need him. Like, well, he's a harmless human. Why should we be afraid of this guy? You should be very afraid of this guy. These two know him not only as hosts, but also as just people who they were playing human beings before, within the park staff, and knew he was a ruthless businessman and kind of this crazy guy who did kind of maniacal stuff out in the park. So
they would know his full history more than most hosts. I mean, considering their position at Delos,
right? They would have be able to look at both sides of him, and they would be way more familiar with him than Dolores would be, at least just on face value. So,
Dolores seems to remember everything. I mean, she talks about it in this episode quite a bit, but that she was the farmer's daughter, and she had this recurring, segment where this is what the life that she thought she was stuck in, which is very similar to Caleb. And she's working Caleb this whole episode. She wants to get him to come to a point of realization that he needs to do something, that he needs to pretty much destroy humans or destroy the machine. I don't exactly know what the next episode.
I guess his mission is to kill what's his name, the bad guy, Serac. Yeah. So he's now going to kill Serac. That he got the plan. He got the computer chip from the psychopathic Rehoboam, which was called what? Sorry, do we remember that name?
No, I didn't really get it. So is that not Rehoboam? That's Dolores's Rehoboam?
That's Serac's brother's Rehoboam.
Oh, I see. Okay. All
right. It's a schizophrenic Rehoboam.
Oh, I got you. Okay. And so is that in a different location than the original Rehoboam?
Yes. It's in some other, wherever they were, I guess. I wasn't even quite following where exactly. I think they were in Mexico. Or no, I don't know where they were.
They're in the Midwest, I think. Like, I think
Yeah,
they're
see,
actually,
like it's kind of like what's going on?
I think
Where
they're
are
in
they?
Arizona or like that kind of a deal. Like, maybe you're right. Maybe it's
No,
Mexico.
they're in Mexico. It says
They
they're in
are in Mexico.
Mexico.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's similar to, like she says, like Dolores does say that it is similar to the park and to her home. And he goes, "You beat the park, right?" So it was modeled after, that sort of idea, that location, that geography. The park was. So it is kind of ironic, and she's all about irony. That's for sure.
Yeah. And so Maeve was trying to take her out, and Maeve's just like, you know what? I don't like you. We're not the same. Whatever. I was on Maeve's side this whole time. I'm like, get her, Maeve. Get her. When she blew her arm off, I'm like, almost. She's almost got her. And then Dolores got the drop on her at the end with the EMP.
Yeah, talk about a slow walk. Maeve's, as smart as she is, isn't smart enough to, run.
I don't know why she didn't bring backup with her. She could have brought like an army of like automatons, like bots, just to help her in the fight.
Yeah, well, and this episode starts with the comeback of Clementine.
Yeah, so yeah, this is kind of paying off on the whole promise of Serac to get help for Maeve, right? So that means Maeve needed help to kind of wage war on the Doloreses. So early on, we get what's his name? Sato Dolores.
Yep.
Gets a call from Charlotte Dolores.
Right.
Right.
She basically says, "Stop doing what she wants. She doesn't care about you."
Yeah, Dolores Prime is not on your side. She's gonna wipe us all out. Get out of here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't really believe her. Sato Dolores doesn't really believe the Charlotte Hale Dolores, and I don't know exactly why that is. Why he's because he hasn't been crossed, he hasn't had the experiences that obviously that Charlotte Hale's Dolores has had. The other one was also very loyal. The Martin Dolores was also very loyal as well. So it's kind of hard to see, like, is Charlotte Hale basically going to be the foil for the Dolores Prime? I think she's gonna definitely be in the next episode. She was barely in this one.
Yeah, we got it in. Obviously, they haven't paid any of that. Yeah, we just get a quick call at the beginning from Hale, Dolores. Nothing. Like she wants payback against Dolores Prime. That seems clear, right?
Yeah, like, well, it's not,
and probably Serac as well.
Yeah, like she doesn't seem to like either side, I would imagine.
No, she's on her own side now.
For me, I don't know, the character I enjoyed the most in this episode was the Man in Black or the Man in White. I enjoyed the conflict that we have as an audience with him, because he's like kind of like the only champion for humans other than Serac, and they're both terrible, but it's like he's more fun to root for than Serac. Serac's just, he's just the bad guy of the season, At least that's my opinion. I think he'll be gone by next episode, by the end of next episode. I don't think we'll have Serac at season 4, if there is a season 4, which I imagine there will be.
Dad's here to crash our Westworld party. Sarah.
Yeah, we know that. We know this isn't Star Trek. This is Westworld. Go watch Westworld.
This is a big episode of Westworld.
It's all available for you to watch. You can definitely watch some Westworld. Start from the beginning, and
Dad, you're ruining our Westworld podcast. You know all about Sarek.
Yeah, we know about Sarek. But that's for a different time. We talk about enough Star Trek on this.
Yeah, come on. Let us know. We only get 8 episodes of Westworld this year, and they're kind of, I don't know. How do you feel like this season's going? Like 7 episodes in, we're at 1 left. Do you feel like this was a good arc?
I feel like certain characters got a good arc, but I don't think it's definitely not the same formula as the first 2 seasons, wouldn't you say?
Definitely not. Well, I don't know. Yeah, because the first 2 seasons were very much mysteries. Like they were these things you had to unravel. This is less of a mystery. I guess the big reveal, I guess at least in this episode, was that this is sort of what Dolores has been planning all along, is to use Caleb as the weapon. He's the loaded gun, and he's going to point, or she's going to point him at Serac, and Serac's death will actually lead to the end of humanity. We're going to see like that Rehoboam circle thing go all the way dark.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's going to be sort of back to what it was before he created Rehoboam, which sounded like it was kind of like not great. Not great times for humanity. Things were sort of a little more desperate. that the scenario that the AI created was something that would help the most people. But okay, I don't understand the people that they had in like the cryo tubes and everything down below the other AI. What was the other AI? The crazy AI's name? Solomon. Um, Solomon with the creepy voice who tried to use the other voices. Right? Like they were just these were like schizophrenic people, but this was also like just people like outliers who I don't know what qualified exactly as an outlier. But anybody who was, they didn't kill them. They would put them into like a little stasis for some reason. Why, Jeff? Why?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really know if even the technology is looking out for the best interest of humanity as much as especially not individuals. It's just trying to make sure that it doesn't kill itself. But maybe if it did kill itself for a while and it would come out the other side of better. But maybe like what it reminds me of, this whole thing with Rehoboam reminds me of a Star Trek episode of Voyager where it was 7 and 9 was constantly coming up with conspiracy theories because she was downloading so much data into her Porg mind that she would constantly, she would go, oh, Janeway's, the saboteur, and she was, working with.
Oh, she was assimilating too much information.
Correct, and I think that is what's going on here. That these Rehoboams and these AI that are processing all information at once are not really able to actually calculate choice. They can make projections, but then they're making decisions based off projections.
Right.
And then those, so that has an effect on the way society will operate, and it has, so there's all these residual effects that are probably unnecessary. That if it's almost like it's eliminating the natural order and creating a new order out of technology, which I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it benefits humans.
Well, it didn't seem like there was a lot of good options for any of this, really. Like it seemed like there was mostly going to be like humanity was going to destroy itself by itself, or it was going to have like this real like dystopian existence under Sirac's like probabilities with Rehoboam, or it's going to be this new thing, I guess, where Caleb wipes out all of humanity for Dolores, and then and then that somehow from out of that, Dolores will create her utopia for whatever hosts are left, for all of host kind.
That's what she says. She says she just wants a world where her hosts can kind of live free. But do we really believe that? Is that what you really believe, that that's what Dolores wants?
Doesn't seem like it.
It doesn't seem like it to me either. I think she's like lying to herself, or she's lying to the characters around her to make her. I don't know what the purpose is, but I don't buy her argument.
No, I don't buy anything that Dolores is selling these days. She's on my list. My list of things I think are dumb. Also, okay, this episode was a lot about like Caleb, his past, the big reveal around him, and why he is now the gun that's being pointed at humanity.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So it seems like most of what we know about Caleb is true, or like it's bits and pieces are, and certain parts of his memory were erased or were scrambled to think that they happened in different orders.
Dude, all right, this episode is mainly about Caleb. And did you enjoy any of the Caleb backstory? I was snoring.
No,
I thought it was pretty bad.
I was kind of like fading through it, especially the stuff that was not true. They tell us all this stuff that like what he thought it was originally. And you're like, okay. And so you spend like all this time in this episode kind of setting up who Caleb thought he was, or what you thought, or how he perceived certain events to happen. Right. But then later on, when they tell you exact how it happened instead, you're like, well, it's pretty close to the original. What? Just like, I don't know. I don't think I needed all that setup. I think that there was a little too much of it. I guess, I guess this show is guilty sometimes of not explaining things or yada over a backstory, but maybe this was too much the other way, because they gave us like this whole story with the guy who was like the older, I don't know what their profession was. They were outliers who were charged with hunting down other outliers so that they could make money, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, just the whole thing with him and his friend, and like you said, some of it wasn't even true,
But some of it was.
but some of it was, and then they have all these flash sequences where he's remembering different things, and then I don't know, like just why do you got to make it all I think they're like trying to make it mysterious when it didn't need to be. Just fucking tell us, like I don't get it. Like I think they're just doing too much rigmarole for me.
Yeah.
Just wasting time, filler. And I don't know. Like it wasn't. I thought this episode was a step down in a lot of different ways. I even thought like they thought this whole like I watched the behind the scenes after the episode or whatever, and they thought this whole Maeve Dolores scene was going to be this ultimate meeting, and it was okay. Like
the dialogue wasn't good enough. I thought
No.
like it was the action was fine, and there was kind of like this high like they had both had drones involved in their big fight, right? One was shooting at Maeve and one was shooting at Dolores, or I think that's what was happening. I just watched this episode once, so it's hard to kind of follow exactly what was up. Maybe Westworld is a 2-watch kind of show. Maybe that's the problem here, but.
Yeah, that's fair, but at the same time, like I don't know, it didn't grip me like last episode did. Like last episode, I was pretty much on the edge of my seat for
because they had a lot more Ed Harris and all the Men in Black stuff was kind of compelling.
Yes, and the Charlotte Hale was the whole ending sequence with Charlotte Hale was very exciting. The action was well done in that episode. I thought the action in this episode it was okay. I mean, it was.
And they sat and the big ending of the last episode with the Charlotte Hale Dolores burned up, scorched. They kind of pick up with that in the sense that we get this phone call from her, and she looks like she's at least a little bit repaired or something. She didn't look completely messed up, right?
She looked at least a little bit like messed up.
Yeah, but it was a little bit better than the last time we saw her, at least 10% better.
Yeah, some people were saying that maybe it's a holographic projection like Sirach's holographic projections are, and she actually looks like all messed up. That might be what was happening there.
Or is it possible that Sirach is actually making that call?
Yeah, we don't know. Like, I'm sure there will be a reveal next episode that will be kind of oh, okay, I didn't see that coming, but I hope it.
What would stop a holographic hail from call that Sirach created to call Dolores or anybody else who was he was working against? I don't see that the hosts are smart enough to kind of figure out what's a real voice and what's not. So I don't like Sirach should have the tools at his disposal to sort of beat Dolores easily, but especially with Maeve on his side, but he seems to be outmatched. And what does Dolores really have? Like Dolores has a bunch of copies of herself, a lot fewer than she did before. That she had a head start. She had a few weeks, so she keeps like revealing. She keeps pulling rabbits out of the hat as she's been going because she can say, "Well, I was setting this all up for like months." So whatever is the EMP, like using Solomon, all this kind of stuff. Why or how Dolores is doing all this is still sort of a mystery. I don't know if I still believe in her motives enough. I get payback for 35 years of being like, the rancher's daughter, but if that's still, the axe you want to grind, which, fair enough. But,
if that was the axe you wanted to grind, she just would have like she did killed Robert Ford and killed the Man in Black and would have been done with it. She has this ulterior motive that I think is more sinister, and it has almost nothing to do with her experiences at the park. They did shape part of who she is. I'm not saying they did not. I'm just saying I think that maybe it's just the difference between an AI and a human, but most humans would just kill the person or would just get revenge on the person that was the most directly responsible, I guess. But she wants to take it out on all of humanity, and she says to create this sanctuary, but I feel like she
or who's gonna live in her utopia with her?
I don't know. I don't think. I think just her. I think Maeve.
Her and maybe Hale and like Hale Dolores and maybe Sato Dolores. I don't get it.
She wants to be the. She wants to.
Oh, and Bernard. Bernard seems to be in the plan. Bernard gets to come to. Bernard and Stubbs are allowed to come to host heaven or host paradise.
Are they? I mean, we don't.
She's not killing them. She had the chance to kill both of them, and she doesn't.
She had the chance to kill Maeve.
Yeah. If you go all the way back to season 1, when what Arnold wanted for the hosts, why Arnold staged that whole thing where Dolores blew him away, right?
Right.
Is this ultimately what he wanted for the hosts? He said we can't open the park because to put the hosts through this would be cruel because they're sentient, and I'm going to prove it to you by sort of showing that they can go beyond their programming and one will kill me. And then Robert Ford eventually 30 years later sort of is inspired to sort of set this back in motion again with Dolores, where she kills Robert Ford. So in both cases, did they both want him to like her to go into the real world, find this guy Caleb who's had a pretty rough life, and then manipulate him and pull all his strings in an effort to use him against his own race, the own human race, because of sort of like a disillusion with how the society is set up and what sort of the structures of it are? It's kind of ludicrous, really. Like it's, she's kind of like, I think she's clearly a villain. I don't even think you can kind of remotely consider her any kind of protagonist or even anti-hero.
Who's the anti-hero?
I think if there's an anti-hero, it's Maeve, because she's not a true hero, but she's not exactly a villain. If anything, she's working against the big bad, which is ultimately, I think, Dolores. So
you're telling me there is no protagonist in this show?
It's maybe Bernard.
Bernard, yeah, I would probably agree with you that Bernard is the only one that seems to be the show's conscience.
So, yeah, he seems to be the most truly good lead. Like he's one of the 3 big leads of the show, and I think he's ultimately if there is a protagonist, it's him, which is why I think he's so aloof all the time, doesn't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, you're probably right, and like now Stubbs is like his right-hand man, but like. In this episode they gave him a lot more to do. It seemed like he was like definitely, the Batman and Stubbs was the Robin, even more so in this episode. I don't know, like
why did they need to pick up the Man in Black?
They don't say. They just say
are we supposed to all assume what the audience has to assume is that, well, the Man in Black needs to get out of this insane asylum? There's literally no character left on the board to pick him up other than Bernard and Stubbs. So that's what's going to happen now.
Didn't they come to that place not to get him, though? Did they come to get him?
I thought so.
I thought they came for a different reason, and then they just stumbled upon him, and they were like, hey, we know you.
I guess no, they were there. Yeah, they were there actually looking up information on Caleb because Caleb had been reconditioned in the same place that the Men in Black had, and the Men in Black was one of like a certain percentage of people who rejected reconditioning. Is that what it was?
Inner Journeys, right? That's the place.
Yeah,
that's what it's called. Yeah,
so we saw what he did with his inner journey. He killed everyone he could with his inner journey.
Yeah, Caleb's not. I don't get it. I don't understand this character. Like, why do we care? Like, I mean, like, I don't know. This show, like, sometimes I love it, and other times I kind of go, like, what are they doing? Stop.
It's only going to pay off. I think ultimately, like now, I need like, effectively, Dolores seems like she's been neutralized by the end of this, but I don't think she's out, right? Like she has some kind of contingency plan for the EMP.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
Like, I guess Hale Dolores is the only active Dolores left, but
well, there's Dolores Prime too, right? She wakes back up, doesn't she? Her and Maeve are gonna wake back up.
Well, Maeve will. Presumably, Serac will bring her back online.
Dolores Prime is going to be in the next episode. Like, there's no way Evan Rachel Wood is not in the next episode.
I would imagine it's going to start with like an interrogation.
It might. Yeah.
of
Well, I
Dolores
don't know.
Prime.
I think Caleb's going to be the one. He'll have both of them, right?
Did you watch the next time on Westworld or
Yeah, I don't really remember what happened though. Like, what happened?
I don't know. It was just moving really fast.
Yeah, I remember
We should bring
watching
it
it.
up.
I remember seeing like some like like they're showing the city here, and then they have Sirax pointing a gun at Caleb. Hale's a hologram. And Man in Black shooting people or whatever. Maeve has the sword again against Dolores Prime. I mean, and then Man in Black's covered in blood, and then we got Maeve with the sword again, going at Dolores again. So they're doing the same fight again. So I don't know. Like, why?
Yeah, it looks like a
I
lot
just
of.
think this was a sloppy penultimate episode that could have been better.
Oh, we see Dolores in her like robot. Why is she in her robot's like endoskeleton with like the rubber skin over top?
Oh, is she? Okay. I mean,
That's like her old. That's from like 30 years ago. So I guess they bring her back online with not her. I don't know. I don't know what this. I just.
you never know what's going on in these previews because anybody could be anybody and anybody could be doing.
And what they're showing us isn't exactly what we're going to see next week.
Yeah, of any show of all shows, it's so hard to predict Westworld because, I mean, you never know why these people are fighting, or like you never know what's going on. They could there's infinite amount of possibilities that they can do with these characters because of the nature of their construct. I don't like. I feel like last episode we could have talked for 2 hours. This episode, like I mean,
what are we gonna say?
What's some more is there to talk about? I mean, like,
I'm more looking forward to the next one. So here, if we look here, this is Ed Harris from the trailer where he says,
yes.
"I'm going to save the effing world."
Yes.
That was the part that got me excited.
Yeah,
I was like, "Yes, save the world, Man in Black. Do it.
But they're all trying to save the world. Dolores is trying to save the world. Maeve's trying to save the world. They're all trying to save the world.
He's splattered with a lot of blood here too.
Yeah, he's gonna be the most sadistic. He's gonna kill some fucking people next episode, and it's gonna be fun to watch.
Is he gonna kill Dolores? Why is the tracker in his blood? What is that about?
I don't know. It's just a plot convenience that they'll probably have for next episode. I have no idea why it's so important. They keep mentioning.
They keep referencing it. They keep talking about it. I keep not caring.
I think Dolores. Yeah, me either. Dolores was able to track something in his blood,
right? And then here, okay, here we also see Dolores here with Caleb in a coffin. I guess this is a new body machine, right?
Yeah, maybe.
We see here she's got her like everything here is metal, and then she's just got like this rubber skin and stuff that's sort of put over top. We'll see if that gets a copyright. Yeah, so here she's putting the hand on.
Yeah. I mean, so that's a different type of robot. That's like the first Dolores.
That's like 30 years ago.
Right.
So I don't know why she's in that, but here we see Caleb, Dolores, and some mercenaries. More shots of presumably Shanghai or some architecture over there. Sirac holding a gun to Caleb's head. So we know that's coming.
I don't feel like, okay, here's my biggest thing here is with the character of Caleb. And I think it's the focal point of why this season isn't working every episode. The episodes that Caleb is not in are fantastic. But when they're focused on this Caleb character and there's this big reveal with Caleb, it's like seeing a fastball coming a mile away. You're gonna hit it out of the park. It's too easy. It's like playing a game that's too easy. I don't know. Just with this whole show is too complicated in every other facet, and then they bring this character in Caleb, and like, I know why they casted him. I get why they casted Aaron Paul, but I don't think he was the right choice for this character.
Yeah, he's not paying off. I think that if you could have put somebody else in this role who would have made it more interesting. What kind of an energy are we looking for instead of what he's bringing to this role?
I would have liked to have seen them cast like a lesser known actor like that, and an actor that's really good, but is like kind of like, you know, who would be a good example. I think the guy who played it, I think his name is Skarsgård or something like that. It's one of the Skarsgårds. He also
Oh,
played.
yeah. His name escapes me, but yes, I know who you mean.
He played Pennywise. Anyway, um, that like that type of an actor, or like I don't know, just a lesser known actor
Bill
that
Skarsgård.
Bill Skarsgård, yeah, like somebody like him. Like I just think they casted somebody that does not. It's hard not to look at that picture of Aaron Paul and not think Jesse Pinkman. Like it's just so hard. Like I know that like that's a bad thing,
It's
but
the epitome of being typecast, right?
well, yes, that is the. It's not necessarily the epitome of being typecast. If he was being typecast, he would only get shows where he plays like drug addicts that, you know, like end up becoming rich, or like, you know, like have the same sort of story narrative that Jesse Pinkman had. But this character of Caleb is, he just doesn't seem all that different, as far as not that he's not playing him different. Obviously, Jesse Pinkman has all the, you know, yo bitch and all these different slangs that he brought to that character.
He's more like Jesse Pinkman at the very end.
Yes.
Right, that sort of beaten, broken down, rageful Pinkman.
Yes. Yes. And it's, yes. And I do think that's a big part of why it's not working for me, is that his character is kind of like, okay, yeah, like it's like the El Camino movie Jesse Pinkman. It's the he he's lost all the colorfulness about him, which was what made that Jesse Pinkman character good. And it's why we cared about him. And then once he became that dark, disturbed person that had seen so much shit, that it just wasn't. It kind of like it came to its end, and now we're watching that. Maybe that's why they picked him. They wanted a person like that was already broken down and beaten, and they thought, okay, well, Aaron Paul's done that with Jesse Pinkman. Maybe he can do that with Caleb as well, and people will buy it. But I don't know. It just I don't know. Does it land for you?
I think also I'm finding the character of Caleb to be incredibly dumb, because he's just this guy who's being very much manipulated by Dolores quite deliberately, and he's kind of oblivious to it. He's kind of been blindly loyal to her through all of this for, and it just doesn't seem like it's earned in a lot of ways. And I think that's part of the frustration also with Dolores, is that she's just, yes, she's 10 steps ahead on everybody, but she's able to manipulate Caleb so easily. Now, yeah, you could say, well, the plot convenience of it is that she has all this like data and like behavioral information from her database, and this is why she's able to do these things. I guess, okay, fine, but I don't know. It's hard to buy it. Like, I'm like, I don't know. I wouldn't make a lot of the same choices that this guy's making. And so that's why I think it's also not working. I don't care what his past is.
Yeah, like had they, you know who I think this character, like if they had not killed I forget her name, but the girl at the end of season 2, and they had given this role in a capacity to her where she was the outlier or something like that, and we had that history with that character, I think it would work. But the fact that they're introducing him in season 1, I mean, in season 3, right at the beginning of the season, and we kind of know he's probably going to be a 1-season character. Like, I don't know. Like,
and we get the great. This was his big episode. This was where we were supposed to go. Man, Caleb was the best. Man, Caleb. Man, they got to find a way to get him back next season. I don't care if he's back next season at all. Like, he's like, I'm ready for the Caleb story to be over. The fact this was where they revealed what happened with Francis. I don't care about him and Francis. Francis seemed like a scumbag too, and he was manipulated or whatever, but I don't know. I think I read an interview the other day where Ed Harris was like, they said, "Are you enjoying this season?" He goes, "No, I'm not." So
I don't blame him. I mean, not that the season's bad. it's just not quite as good. Like, I mean, there's just certain things about it that are, I don't want to say lazy, because the show is not lazy. It's really well written and it's really well researched. And there's all this symbolism. There's things that they do in the show that are really brilliant. But at the same time, I do think that they're lacking on the character development of this new character that they brought into the show, that they had to create this mystery about them, and then the mystery is kind of lame, or it's not really paying off. It's not paying off in a cool, badass way where you're like, "That's awesome." It's not. It's like milk toast. It's just
Yeah. Like what from this episode would you say was the coolest, most awesome moment? I think for me, it's when you figure out. It's when Bernard says the line that the great sense of irony, and this is what Dolores' plan has been. I thought that was exciting. But everything up to that with Caleb was mostly not working for me. Although I did love that AI thing and just the conversations between Dolores and what was it called? Solomon. Solomon was the other insane AI. And he's like, I'm nothing like you, Dolores. You're meant to imitate humans, and I'm here to calculate a billion things at once or whatever. So I kind of like that sassy AI chat. I thought that some of that was interesting. I think as you were trying to figure out what the plot was, at least as it surrounded Dolores' grand plan. I'm like, okay, sure, okay, well, this is interesting enough to see where's this going. But everything with Caleb, I found unfulfilling.
Yeah, me too. I mean, even like where the AI, the new AI asks Caleb, like, and he starts talking like in Aaron Paul's voice. And Aaron Paul, Caleb doesn't like that. He's like, no,
no,
back to a
make
French
another voice. I don't like my voice. And we're like, well, maybe we don't like your voice either, Aaron Paul. So we better start, being a little nicer.
Yeah, maybe, or maybe it's just like maybe that's a character cue about Caleb that we're supposed to be reading into. Like maybe he doesn't like himself. Maybe he's a destroyer. Maybe that's why he's an outlier. He's going to destroy things. That's why Dolores picked him. I mean, that's kind of the implication that is being presented here, which I guess we'll see if it pays off. They have to do it right. I mean, for me, a penultimate episode should be better than the one we just watched.
Mm-hmm.
It should really get you amped up for the finale. And this one, I thought last week's episode did a much better job of getting you amped up for a finale than this one did.
Yeah, this found more of like mostly. Because the fight between Dolores and Maeve, like I'm cheering for Maeve, but I know this is not where it's going to end. This is just not a final moment kind of thing for either of these characters. So I don't care who wins.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm just waiting for them to go through the motions.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know if there's anything else you want to kind of touch on here. I think we've covered.
Not much. I like this shot of Ed Harris with a shotgun. Will he shoot Bernard and Stubbs? Maybe. I wouldn't say no for sure. I'm more looking forward to seeing where this ends. Here we got what I presume is either Maeve or her Japanese host sidekick who was helping out with Clementine. So one of those two is making sparks on the ground. You can see that a little bit there. No, actually, no. It looks like it's pretty much it's Maeve. So Maeve's back to fight Dolores. We got that. That's probably the end of the episode. We got some blackness. We got, of course, he's gonna save the effing world. We got more Maeve. We got more Dolores and Maeve. Hard to make out what's going on there. It looks like somebody's tackling somebody else.
I think that Serac is going to die very early in the next episode.
Really? What's this scene? People with masks on.
Looks like a riot.
This seems like this was added after the fact. It gets more. Season finale. We got Maeve. We got more flags. Rehoboam. Who's in the chair?
Serac or Caleb? Looks like it's Caleb.
Looks like Caleb's in the stool. We got Serac standing. We got Maeve over here with a sword, and we got a couple of henchmen. Okay. And then here we got, this looks like Dolores hooked up with some tubes with some glowing goo.
You know, it's good. Anything glows, and
she doesn't seem to like it. So it looks like maybe a torture of some kind. Oh, better get that off the screen. We don't want those HBO people to come after us.
oh no, you have the HBO logo.
Oh no, get that HBO logo off the screen. They don't like that. Here, get that off. Okay. Hide. Here. All right.
We're fine.
we're done. Yeah. You can't use it.
You're shutting us down. They should just hire us. Just HBO just hire us to do an after.
No, because we'll tell them when their show sucks.
Yeah, that's true.
And this one wasn't good enough. It was fine tonight, I guess.
Fine.
It left me satisfied, and the more I've left thinking about it, I'm like, that wasn't good enough. I don't want to
write better. Just write a better character than this Caleb character. Give him more of a story that matters and with more weight.
Actually, I think the only scene I want to watch again is where they fight. Where's that champion of trivial debates? Standing champion. Your percentages went up, Jody. I can share the stats with you if you want.
Cake or pie? I mean, come on.
Well, come on, Jeff. You were done as soon as you said red velvet cake, and you were like, "That was your cake of choice." Then it was over. So
I was done. Once I said cake, give me a break.
Yeah, well, pie. I made a pie tonight just because Jody sold me on pies so much last night.
Oh, come on, get out of here with your pie. So,
yeah, like he was like, I was like, you know what, I can make a pie. Why not? Jody said it's the best thing ever. You can put meat in it. You know,
this is how boring this episode was, Dave. Now we're not talking about pie and cake.
We're like the penultimate episode was, all we can really do is look forward to the next one and hope it's good. So that's kind of our.
This was the search for Spock of Westworld episodes.
This was the search for Spock. At least it's not the Final Frontier, which is next in the Star Trek podcasts, by the way.
Oh God, that movie's terrible. But that's not what we're here to talk about right now.
No, but hey, we as well plug the show. Do you want to hear us talk about a terrible movie? Check it out on Saturday, where we talk about Star Trek V: The Final Frontier. Is it worse than Star Trek 1? We're gonna find out. And then it's followed up by maybe the best Star Trek movie of them all. So you can't. It's not like there was diminishing returns with each movie by any means.
We'll come back tomorrow where we'll be covering season 1, episode 3 of Deep Space Nine of our Deep Space Nine rewatch over on Live Log and Podcast.
Jason Doan is pumped for this podcast, by the way.
We have 2 special guests, Jason Doan and Jameel Robinson.
They do not know each other.
Nope.
Whatever. It's going to be interesting. We're going to be. It's not even like the most interesting Deep Space Nine episode, other than it's the one that followed up the pilot, which you expect the pilot is going to be full of pomp and circumstance and sort of all these things that are set up and then seen through to season 7. I think most of what we're going to talk about in this next one on Deep Space Nine, we're not going to say this set up the entire show.
It does set up certain characters. It definitely sets up Garrick, and it definitely
sets up Garrick. I think being probably the noteworthy thing, and it's also Kira, right?
Yeah, it's a very Kira episode. We get to really know Kira for the first time in this episode and what she's about. And so it's important. You need it. It's a Thor of the Dark World. You need it. You don't want it, but you need
it. Exactly. That's how I look at a lot of things. Yeah, it's like a Thor of the Dark World. You don't want it, but you need it. Because there's 6 infinity.
That's kind of what this episode of Westworld was tonight. You don't really want it. I mean, it was okay. I mean, it was like the Dolores Maeve thing was, it was underwhelming. It was cool. It was cool to see her get her arm shot up. But even when it was happening, like you said, if this had been the finale, I think the stakes would have been more raised.
Yeah, but it wasn't a finale, so it did. So it took all the air out of the room. With this Dolores and Maeve fight, you felt like there was no stakes to it because you knew it wasn't going to be here. It wasn't going to be in this episode 7. If it's going to happen at all, it's going to be next episode.
And it would have been better had Caleb been a better character, or is a better character, Yeah. But he's not. He's kind of boring, and he could be so much better.
Right. And Jody says Jason is his new homie. Well, Jody, you tune in tomorrow. I wish we could have more than 4 on the podcast at one time, but we're going to talk about Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Episode 3, I suppose it is. And that was the other thing Jason messaged me about, was the fact that that the convention was all off on Netflix because they're counting Emissary parts 1 and 2 as episode 1. Therefore, episode 3 is actually episode 2, and the chaos continues.
I mean, it kind of is that way. Yeah, for season 1, we're gonna have to deal with that, But yeah, Netflix does that. They'll combine it because it's one story, right?
What time's the DS9 pod tomorrow? I think we start that around.
Usually around 8:00. It might be a bit after that.
I think we have it booked at 8. Yeah, for tomorrow. So check it out. 8:00 Eastern. That'll be over on Live Long and Podcast, which is you can find it. Don't worry. We always link everything in our descriptions.
Yep. Absolutely.
So I guess that's it for tonight, everybody. Sorry it wasn't a better episode. Assuming you agree with us at all. Yeah. And let's hope the finale is a little bit better, because I think the season has a lot of potential to have a big payoff. It just wasn't here. And so let's hope that there's actually some stakes and some consequences to the next episode. I think they will, because that's usually what Westworld does in their finale.
Yeah, Westworld usually, does write a good finale, but I mean, this whole season has worried me that the fact that it's only eight episodes compared to the last 2 were 10. It's like they didn't have enough in the tank, and they just kind of like, it's almost like they had a whole story written and they were like, okay, I guess we need to introduce another character to kind of like almost prolong it. I feel like Caleb was that character, and they added some mystery in there, but I mean, the mystery kind of sucks. I mean, this whole thing with him and the soldier, I mean, come on, like, it's so lazy. Like, it's they could do so much better. Like, they are better than this.
They're better than this.
They're better than character that they've written.
This Caleb character, is not a compelling character.
No. So, like, I thought he was for the first couple of episodes, but I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was the casting or if it was the writing or what is wrong, but something's wrong. Something's not landing. The episodes without him were fantastic, and the episodes with him are kind of like, what is going on? Why do I care? And you never want that of a show. With a show, you want to, leave it with, I care about all these characters for the most part. I mean, you don't have whether or not you hate them or like them. For the most part, most of these characters, I find you lean more toward the hate. I mean, it's hard to like any of these characters fully. Even Maeve, they're all kind of morally bankrupt, and
their motivations are good enough either.
Yes, that too. Yeah, their motivations are basically, they kind of always say survival, but then they're willing to do things that have nothing to do with their survival. So it's hard to get behind them.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think that's it for this one.
Thanks for this visit to Westworld. We'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Okay. Bye.